are back. One more episode of
The Horror Guys.
Yay! I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And I bet we have horror movies.
We do. We have older horror movies this week. We don't have anything new.
Nothing new this week.
Nothing new yet.
I know we got some new stuff next week.
Yeah, we did watch a 2025 movie officially yesterday.
One of our, maybe our first full-length movie from 2025.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but that'll be for next week.
But they keep coming out.
Okay, announcement-wise, what do we got? Oh, hey, we got new books coming out.
We do.
We got Horror Monthly, issue number 41.
Okay.
Came out just a couple days ago. It looks sharp. It's our Valentine's Day issue, as you can tell from the cover. We're giving you our hearts.
Yeah. Last Valentine's Day, we gave you our heart.
And this week, in a couple of days, actually, we're recording this morning of Super Bowl Sunday. It's going to go out evening Super Bowl of Sunday. And if you look in the right place at the right time, you might find our latest Horror Guys book.
It's about the Oscars.
The Academy Award, the Horror Guys Guide to the Academy Awards of Horror. It's award season, and this one has been a year in the making. We're waiting to see. I put most of this together last year with a Godzilla -1 got announced, and we were waiting for this year's announcements. And every movie that has won an Academy Award, every horror movie that has won an Academy Award,
and there's a surprising number of them, and the momentum seems to be building.
It does, yes.
Yeah, for a long time, horror wasn't taken seriously at all.
No, not at all.
And it is more now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the exact number. I think there's like 36 movies in there. All of them are Academy Award winners.
And there's a couple coming up that for this year's Academies that they haven't, we don't know if they're going to win or not yet. The Substance, and, there's some nominees.
Nosferatu, and that other one. Oh, Alien Romulus are all up for awards this year.
Have nominations.
Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, read about all the... They're all very good movies, or they wouldn't have won. Yeah, the 30-some Academy Award winners, 3 honorable mentions that should have won and didn't, and 3 new movies that have been nominated and may or may not win anything.
The book talks about them all.
Yeah, it does. It's a nice, big, thick book, just like all the Horror Guys guides, and it's available as a paperback, ebook, or whatever format you like. Yeah, check it out. We will have this at, where will we have this? Hey, how about go to horrormonthly.com and click on the Horror Guys Guides.
Okay.
It'll be there.
All right.
And it'll be out some places probably tonight, maybe some places as late as Tuesday, but it's going out. It'll be available very soon.
Wherever fine books are sold.
The Horror Guys Guide to the Academy Awards of Horror.
Nice.
All right. Well, anyway, down to business. This week, we have watched 5 movies and some shorts. What did we watch?
Some pretty excellent things. 2013, Horns. And then we got an old Italian film, Night of the Devils, from 1972. And we wrap up the Wreck series. Got Wreck 4, at least so far. That's the last one they've made. They should make some more. They could make some more.
They could.
Yeah. And a 2012 Bigfoot, The Lost Coast Tapes. And then we're going to finish off with a fact-based documentary, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Oh, yeah, that really happened.
From 2012.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
And some shorts in there, too.
Where are we going to start with?
Oh, we should start with Horns.
It's about a band leader, right?
Yeah,
Directed 2013 Horns, directed by Alexandre Aja. I don't know how you say it. Written by Keith Boonen and Joe Hill. Stars Daniel Radcliffe, Juno Temple, and Max Minghella. And it is 2 hours exactly. Trailer in the show notes.
And spoiler-free?
Spoiler-free.
It's almost like a murder mystery.
It kind of is.
And there's a guy with the abilities to solve it. It was a lot of fun, I thought, with dark humor and action and romance. And we never find out why these things are happening to Ig, the main guy. But it doesn't really matter. Just go with it. Yeah.
I would like to know why.
His name is Ignatius. Everybody calls him Ig or Iggy.
Yeah, Ig.
Yeah.
Ig Parrish narrates about how in love he was with Marin Williams. We cut to him waking up on the kitchen floor after drinking too much. He's got an amazing record collection, and he thinks of her. There are dozens of reporters outside with protesters. "You'll burn in hell," and other signs. He's accused of killing Marin.
And these people are really obsessed with it. And there's a lot of reporters.
Oh, I think it's like that for most of these murders now. It's all sensationalized on the news.
It's a very sensationalized murder. Yeah.
And this, of course, is Daniel Radcliffe, the same year that the very last Harry Potter movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
And he's unshaven and got his shirt open with his hairy chest, and he's drunk through half the movie. And I think he's trying very hard not to be Harry Potter here.
Yeah, he's very much grown up here.
It was the same year that last movie came out, though.
They were pushing it with the Harry Potter kids.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they weren't kids anymore.
Well, he drives to his parents' house, and the reporters follow him. Parents Derek and Lydia are there, along with his brother Terry. They talk about Lee Tourneau, Ig's lawyer. He still denies having anything to do with her death. Well, Lee shows up. The lab that was processing the evidence for the case has mysteriously burned down. Huh, that was convenient.
Which could be
Or
bad.
maybe not.
Could be bad for the case or good for the case, yeah.
Ig goes to the local bar and talks to Glenna, who clearly likes him. That night, there's a candlelight vigil for Marin. Dale, Marin's father, thanks them all for coming, and he blames Ig for the murder, too. And he was my number one suspect throughout most of the movie.
Yeah, he was.
The father went crazy and killed her, I was figuring.
Yeah.
Ig gets drunk, smashes the shrine, and pees on it. He later complains that everyone in town, when they saw him, saw the face of the devil. Well,
that's prophetic.
as Ig wakes up the next day next to Glenna, he's got some bloody bumps on his forehead. He goes to the bathroom and looks in the mirror, and the horns grow longer, and Glenna can see them too. Everybody can see these.
Mm-hmm.
She starts acting weird, and then she starts eating all the donuts, strangely. You know what I want to do?
I want to eat all these donuts.
All these donuts. Can I eat these donuts?
Yeah, and it's this
She
weird
needs his
trend.
permission.
Yeah, and whenever he encounters people, they start confessing, what they're thinking and what they want to do, and they, would this be okay if I did this? And most of the time, he's like, I don't care. Why are you telling me this? And then he figures it out that it's the horns causing it.
Well, he goes to the doctor about the horns. There's a woman there who says she wants to kick her own screaming child, or maybe just leave and abandon her. See? Telling the truth.
Uh-huh.
She wants to leave her husband. She tells him all her secret immoral desires. The receptionist just wants to scream at the mother, and he gives her permission to do that. It seems that everyone wants Ig's permission to do bad things, and they confess bad acts and bad thoughts. The nurse also overshares. The doctor mentions that every time he looks away from the horns, he forgets that they're there. Which is probably why no one ever acts on them. They forget about them immediately.
Yeah. And the doctor, he's
he's a hoot.
He's got sexual fantasies, and he just wants to huff all these drugs and all this, And Ig's like, I want the horns off. Can we get the horns off? You should read a little more.
The doctor sedates Ig before cutting off the horns, and Ig dreams of his childhood with his friends and how he met Marin. So we're getting some backstory.
Mm-hmm.
Ig does a crazy risky stunt. He rides down a log trough in a shopping cart and is nearly killed.
Yeah, it's a logging town with a lumber mill, and they've got logs floating in the river. Well, he jumped in the river among the logs, and then he couldn't get back up to the surface because... Yeah.
Lee, however, ends up losing several fingers in the process of the chain of events. Young Ig shows Marin to his treehouse in the woods, and they're followed by Terry, Ig's brother. Years pass, and they're still together. Well, Ig wakes up at the doctor's office, and he's still got his horns. The doctor and the nurse both got distracted by sex in the middle of the operation. Okay, they're not getting a lot of work done.
No, they're not.
Ig drives to the church to ask the priest what to do. The priest said he'd really just like to string Ig up and kill him.
Well, okay then.
All right.
Yeah, no help there.
Ig then goes to see Lee, but Lee doesn't see the horns. Maybe the horns don't work on good people, Ig wonders. Ig then goes home to his mother, who sees the horns and wishes he'd gone somewhere else with his problems. She's really tired of him making her feel bad. People just can't help but tell him the absolute truth.
And then afterward, too, there's a thing where they don't remember telling him this absolute truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His father never doubted for a minute that Ig murdered Marin, Oh, and it was him that had the lab burned down.
Okay, then.
All right. Well, you can see where this is going.
Uh-huh.
He's got this truth power, and, well, it's weird.
So then he starts to figure out, well, maybe I can use this to figure out who really killed Marin.
Yeah.
If he goes around getting everybody to confess. Except it's a little more complicated than that.
Oh, it always is, yes.
Yeah.
And there's a good chance we see a lot of evidence that says Ig did it, and maybe he's just in denial. We don't know.
We wonder. But all is cleared up in the end.
Yes, it was fun. The whole horns, snakes, and truth powers make it seem like Ig was guilty all along. I mean, why would he be getting these powers if he's not the devil?
And that's never explained why.
But he still swears he didn't do it throughout. So what was this all for? It just gets weirder and weirder since we don't actually know what's going on or why. Even after the murder mystery is solved, we don't really get any explanation as to why Ig got those weird powers. It's very good. It's very funny. It's pretty cool. But I have a lot of questions, like, why?
Yeah. Well, it's a unique way to solve a murder mystery. I'll say that.
It certainly is. I will become the devil to solve this murder.
Mm-hmm. I did enjoy it, though. Second viewing, and I really liked it.
I had not seen it before, but yeah, it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess it's horror.
Oh, yeah. I would consider it that.
There's the devil in it.
Yeah, devilry in it. He's not the devil, but he's a devil.
We don't know.
Or demonic, or maybe he is the devil coming to Earth. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the devil, we've got The Apocalypse. Rec 4 from 2014, the fourth movie in the series. Directed by Joan Balaguero. Written by Joan Balaguero and Manu Diaz. Stars Manuela Velasco, Paco Manzanero, and Hector Colomb. Hour and 35 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
And I have a confession to make. Before we started these things, I didn't realize there was a 3 and a 4. Oh, so I only realized there was the first 2 movies. I didn't know 3 and 4 existed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're good. They were all good.
Yeah, they were.
Spoiler free. It was a direct sequel to the second movie. Even brings in a little bit of the third prequel movie, so the series is tightened up a bit. We mentioned last week that the third movie was set as a sort of a prequel at a wedding.
And didn't have a lot to do with the first 2.
Some of the details didn't quite match up to what we'd learned in the other 2 movies, so we thought maybe it was just a zombie movie that they stuck the name on. Mm-hmm. And I'm sticking to that story. But this one here, they incorporated in a little better.
They do loop back, and fit it in, yeah.
They move out of the building of the first 2 movies, and all the events takes place on a ship in the middle of the ocean, still giving the element of isolation and being trapped. It loses some of the found footage element and switches to more of an action horror film. It's still very good, maybe a little step down from the first 2 movies.
Yeah, I like the first 2 the best. This one was good, though.
Well, part of it is where they started out. At the end of the second movie, the main character we see is infected.
It looks that way, yeah.
But here she's not.
Okay, it doesn't look that way. She clearly is.
Yeah.
Well, things changed.
Yeah, something changed. I mean, why is she better? Well, we find out.
We do find out, yeah.
What happens?
Well, we hear a news reporter talking about an entire building being closed off due to a mysterious virus as credits roll. There may be only one survivor, a reporter who went in as the outbreak started. And we do see her, the survivor. Uh-huh. Well, Guzman and Lucas move through the building, planting devices as they go upstairs. They're going to cleanse this building. They only have 4 minutes to evacuate, but they run into an infected fireman who slows them down.
Which there's no reason they had to have such short timers. The zombies weren't going anywhere.
Yeah, they had the building locked down. Well, 2 of their own men get bitten, and they shot them, and they shoot them, and they hear someone upstairs. It's Angela from the first 2 movies. Well, they don't have much time, and they lead her outside to safety just in time. Yes, this continues after the second film of the series, where Angela, who was possessed by the demon, gets out. And we're thinking, oh, this isn't good. It's unleashed on the world. Well, we cut to Angela in the hospital not long after, and she's strapped to a table. Dr. Ricarte asks if she remembers anything, and she says she doesn't. Then we see that she's on a ship. Guzman is there as well. And there's an old woman there. She has no idea where she is. She's definitely got some dementia going on.
Or does she?
Yeah. And she's talking about a wedding, and we put it together quickly.
She's the only survivor from the third movie.
From the third movie, yeah, the prequel. Yeah, so she could be uninfected and, hiding.
As far as I know, she was not a character in the third movie. She's just some random actress they gave this part to.
There were a lot of guests at the wedding.
Yeah.
A lot of
she was supposed to
characters.
have been there, but it's not a character we've seen.
Right, yeah. Well, Angela breaks out of the infirmary, and the doctor authorizes the men to shoot if necessary. Well, she runs into Guzman, and they both make it up to the deck, and then the doctor comes up and say it's okay, her tests are all clear. She's not infected with the virus. Okay, so what's up with that? She was. Riccardi explains to Guzman that they are there to investigate the infection, and the boat is the best way to provide isolation. And he says there was another outbreak at a wedding near Barcelona. Yeah, but they contained that one. And they've got the old lady there from it. Well, Guzman talks to Captain Ortega, who runs the boat. Goro is the pilot who runs the bridge. And the power blinks off and on. The boat is really old and decrepit. The power's been acting funny, though, since the passengers came on board. And there's no communications either, because the boss shut that all down. They want to be isolated. Nick, the IT man, says explains about the video camera they found.
Didn't quite catch it. It's Angela's video camera from the movie. She's got the footage of everything that happened to her in the first movie, including her getting infected.
Yeah.
But somehow or another, it's encrypted or corrupted or something, and he has
corrupted.
to decode it.
Yeah, he has to fix it.
It sounds gimmicky.
It's a plot device to stall some time. Well, Guzman reconnects with Luca and the senile lady, the sole survivor from the wedding. Guzman says the scientists are hiding something. Why is there so much security?
It's a mystery where we should probably stop.
Yeah. And Nick gets the camera fixed and starts reviewing the footage, and they start piecing together what's going on and how the infection works and how it can travel from person to person. And there's a lot of things that are answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although the third movie didn't feel like it was connected to the first two, this one did include it in the plot, so it makes it a little bit more official seeming. This one doesn't bother with the whole found footage thing, unlike the previous ones did. This is just a regular old regular action movie. It's a step down from the other three, but it's not awful. It's not awful.
It's not awful. It's actually quite good.
It's not bad enough to account for it to being the end of the series. I'm surprised they didn't make more.
Yeah, they totally could.
They could have.
Yeah, I liked it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I appreciated that they still had the feeling of isolation by keeping it on a ship.
Yeah, once they get out of the apartment building, you kind of figured it was going to spread to the city, but no, it didn't.
And this one, I think, has less scare and tension and more action.
Yes, definitely. A lot of running around and shooting and stuff.
Yeah. Still quite good.
Kind of feels like a different movie, but then again, so did the third one. Yeah, it's going different places and doing different things.
But it entertained. I liked it.
It's been 11 years. I doubt there's going to be a 5.
Yeah, they totally could, though. I want there to be.
1972, Night of the Devils. A.K.A. La Notte dei Diavoli.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
Directed by Giorgio Ferroni. Written by Eduardo Manzanos, Romano Migliorini, and Gianbattista Musetto. Stars Gianno Garco, Agostino Belli, and Roberto Maldera.
And this
You might think this is Italian.
This is
for the
Italian,
names.
if you couldn't tell. Yeah.
Hour and 31 minutes. And I guess that's just a trailer. I'll bet I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't entirely on YouTube.
I bet it is, yeah.
Spoiler free, what happens?
Well, it's very similar to Black Sabbath from 1963, which we talked about before. And it's not considered a remake, though, because they both draw from the same source story. So they're thought of as parallel. The Family of the Vordalak is a story by Alexei Tolstoy.
And I thought it was just a real legend. I didn't realize it was a Tolstoy story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he made it up. Well, he might have based it on a real legend, but we thought this was the better of the two, and it held up pretty well for entertainment value.
Well, Black Sabbath, if you remember, was an anthology. There was 3 or 4 stories there, and this was just one segment.
Yeah.
And it was all right. I mean, everybody compliments Boris Karloff as that was one of his scariest roles in that one.
It is decent.
But yeah, this is that segment of the anthology kind of spread out to be a full-length movie. And you get a lot more detail here.
Yeah.
And I think this is better done, mostly because of the length. Well, after the credits, we open on a man stumbling through the field, obviously wounded. His clothes are all torn, and he soon passes out. He's taken to the hospital and hooked up to a testing machine where he hallucinates skulls, exploding heads, and naked women, because it's Italian, getting their hearts torn out.
What Italian horror movie does not have boobies? The
man survives but has total amnesia. He may not even remember how to speak Italian. The tests don't show anything wrong with him now that he's rested and recovered. And the inspector comes by, but he has no idea who the man is. The doctor says the man is fine during the daytime, but he gets very agitated in darkness. Well, a woman comes by to the hospital and says she knows who it is. His name is Nicola. He came to town on business, and he seemed perfectly normal when she met him last week. Sedenka smiles when she sees Nicola in the hallway, and he gets terrified and fights the orderlies until they sedate him. Sedenka leaves, but she forgets her purse. She'll be back.
Yes, she will.
Nicola lies in bed and has a flashback, which is the majority of the movie.
Yep, now we see what happened and led to these events.
He's driving his car out in the country and almost runs into a woman. When he gets out of the car to help, she's vanished, but the car is broken down. As he walks down the path, he hears weird howling and cries. Some grave diggers see him walking past the cemetery because there's a funeral in progress. The body they bury is in a bloody white sheet.
Ew.
No coffin, just a white sheet that's leaking blood.
They're going to plop the body in the grave.
Nicola keeps walking and soon comes to a house. The man from the funeral arrives and says he just buried his brother. He invites Nicola to stay there overnight, and he'll help with the car tomorrow. Everyone in the house closes and bars all the windows and doors as it's starting to get dark outside. The old man's son, Jovan, enters, and he's surly. He might be able to fix the car when the sun comes up. And Sedenka is there as well. Well, the family hears someone pounding at the door, but the old man says it's just the wind. It's obviously not. Sedenka mentions never having seen a television, which Nicola finds interesting. They are out in the woods.
In 1972, an adult who's never seen a television.
It's in the countryside of Italy, and I don't know.
It's possible. Just
this is taking place in modern day 1972. This is not an old period piece.
Yeah.
Well, it is now, I guess.
Well, yeah.
She shows him to a spare room, and he asks why the windows are barred. She just says, don't open them at night under any circumstances. Well, Jovan and his father argue over whose fault their current situation is. And the old man says they need to watch out or they'll all become the Walking Dead.
And that's why they keep the bars on the windows at night? Doors closed?
Yeah.
What's going on here in this little hamlet?
We don't know, but I bet we find out.
We do find out.
There are hints throughout. Yeah. Well,
and then after the flashback is over, of course, we go back to the hospital where he is, and
wrap up the story.
Sedenka comes back for her purse.
Yes, she does.
Yes, and stuff happens.
This is clearly based, as we said, on the same legend as the Vordelak story from Black Sabbath from 1963, which obviously came first. It's exactly the same story, but this is much more fleshed out and detailed. It's good. I thought it was good.
I was pleasantly surprised by how good it was. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did.
I didn't care for the Black Sabbath story very much. I thought it was rushed and kind of overacted. And
I thought this was well.
I was expecting this not to be very good either, but it was much better.
It moves really well, and it wasn't too long. And, it was good.
It's subtitled Italian.
Subtitled, that's all right. Yeah.
It looks like it was made in the 70s. It's got that 70s look. But it was good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's go look for Bigfoot out in the woods now.
And this is another one that I was pleasantly surprised by.
Oh, yeah. You get these dollar store DVDs.
It was a dollar store DVD. It was.
And they're usually pretty awful, straight to video kind of crap. And
this one was quite good.
The trailer, I would say the trailer's in the show notes like always. But
the trailer is weak.
The trailer looked kind of crappy.
Yeah.
But I thought this was much better than I was expecting. And so did you.
Given the preview and the dollar store find, I was expecting the worst and so pleasantly surprised.
2012's Bigfoot, The Lost Coast Tapes. Directed by Corey Grant, written by Brian Kelsey and Brian O'Kane, stars Drew Roush, Rich McDonald, and Ashley Wood, hour and 30 minutes. And there's a trailer, but don't take it too seriously. It's better than it looks.
Yeah, don't trust the trailer. Well, spoiler free.
Well, huh?
When a documentary crew teams up with a Bigfoot expert, things go south. When it seems like they are the ones being hunted. But it is more complicated than that as they try to figure out how to get out of their predicament. They're stuck in the woods and they're being stalked. It is on the low budget side, but it's well made and entertaining.
And we have reviewed several Bigfoot documentaries over the years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actual documentaries about people interviewing witnesses and stuff. And
There
is not that. This is a fictional movie.
There was even that one that I didn't realize was a documentary and was waiting for Bigfoot to show up.
Well, this one, Bigfoot does show up.
Yes, this is not a documentary.
Sean Reynolds comes out of the bank with the money to finance his new Bigfoot documentary. Daryl Coleman is there to film the whole thing. Robin will be the producer of the show. Sean is a skeptic, but Robin believes all the woo that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis, on the other hand, is the regular sound guy, but he's reluctant to go out and spend weeks in the woods. He's like, that's white people stuff. He ain't doing it. Camping in the woods, is a white folks thing, so he refuses to go.
Mm-hmm.
He recommends this guy named Kevin go with them instead. And Kevin is clueless and spells kind of bad, but at least he agrees to go.
It's a different Kevin. This Kevin does not smell bad most of the time.
Anyway, they're going to interview a guy in the woods who claims he'll have a dead Bigfoot body. Sean insists that they film at all times. Fill those cameras up. Yep, found footage.
Yeah, they're going to make a documentary. Yep.
Kevin wakes up and he knows all about the guy with Bigfoot, and he's become an internet sensation.
Okay.
The Bigfoot guy is all over YouTube.
Carl Dryback. Kind of a cool name.
Well, his land is way out in the country, and they get lost on the way there. Drybeck meets him in the woods after they get stuck. We don't want to be traveling after dark. Well, Sean has paid him $75,000 to do the show with Drybeck, who insists on collecting their cell phones and making the crew wear black hoods over their heads. Yeah, he's weird, creepy, and paranoid.
And they're way out in the middle of the woods without their cell phones, and they don't even know for sure where they are. What could go wrong?
Well,
We're going to find out.
we've seen these kind of movies before.
Yeah.
When they reach Drybeck's camp, Kevin immediately insists that they're all going to get hacked up by a serial killer. Robin, however, gets started on her rituals to purify and welcome nature. She senses something large moving in the woods.
They're being watched.
Drybeck's assistant LaRoche is there, and he looks suspicious. Well, Drybeck explains that the wildlife has been getting aggressive at night, and he's installed an electric fence. As they sit around the campfire, the old man tells them his best Bigfoot story. He talks about running into the 9-foot-tall monster many years ago. They hear branches cracking in the woods, and Drybeck insists they all go inside. Sean is skeptical, and he asks Drybeck some tough questions. Drybeck has theories as to why no one else has ever produced real proof of Bigfoot's existence. Everybody's got a cell phone. Why are there no better pictures?
Yeah, there should be by now, shouldn't there?
And, of course, they start casting aspersions at each other, and Drybeck has done his own research about Sean's recent trip to a mental hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
That's a factor.
Suddenly, the lights go out. And we'll stop there.
Yeah.
All right, as we said, the promiser for the trailer for this one was not promising. The budget was fairly low, but otherwise it's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. It could be a hoax or maybe not, all the way up to the last few minutes.
Yeah, Drybeck could be faking this whole thing.
And we don't see what happens to the assistant for a very long time, and Drybeck is definitely shady. It could totally be a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we do find out what's going on, we're left wondering what the full story was. Minor spoiler, though, we never do get a good look at the creatures.
No.
If you're expecting
Glimpses
Harry and the
and-
Hendersons, this is not it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. And I can't read all my commentary because it's kind of spoilery.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it was good. I liked it. There.
Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter from 2012. Directed by Timer Bekmambetov. Bekmambetov.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say that over and over.
Bekmambetov.
Written by Seth Graham-Smith, stars Benjamin Walker, Rufus Sewell, and Dominic Cooper. I bet Rufus Sewell is the bad guy.
He often is.
He rarely plays a good guy.
Sometimes he does.
I can mention Dark City. I can't think of anything else. Where he's a
Spoiler.
good guy.
He's the bad guy in this one.
He is, of course.
Yeah.
1 hour, 45 minutes trailer in the show notes. It's pretty cool how they work real people and real history events into a vampire story. It's at least loosely based on the real life of Abraham Lincoln. I mean, the
Real
big points of his
characters.
life is there.
Yeah, real characters and the historical highlights. Yeah.
It's full of action and violations of the laws of physics, and it was pretty entertaining, even on our second viewing. You think Abraham Lincoln is related to Buffy?
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, go on.
Well, it's April 14th, 1865. Abraham Lincoln, president, writes in his journal about his struggle with darkness. He leaves his entire written record of his life to his friend Henry. And then we flash back to Abe's childhood, and his black friend Will is being abused by his owner. His whole family is against slavery, and his father gets fired because of it. The boss, Mr. Bartz, is creepy.
Boy, is he creepy.
Yeah. Well, that night, Abe watches as Mr. Bartz comes into their cabin, and the next day, his mother gets ill from a strange disease of the blood, and she soon dies. Well, 9 years later, Abe still wants revenge. Abe listens as Mr. Bartz talks to Adam, one of his associates, who says they still have a lot of mouths to feed. Abe shoots Bartz, but his gun jams. That's the trouble with them old style guns. Except the second shot works just fine, except that Bartz isn't affected by it because
He
he's
shoots
not
Bartz in
human.
the eye, and basically the rest of the movie, Bartz walks around with a silver bullet in his eye.
Yeah, well, it's not a silver
Lead,
bullet.
whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
It did take his eye out, but it didn't really hurt him or slow him down. And now he has huge fangs that sprouted out. He attacks Abe, but runs off when Henry grabs him from behind. In the morning, Henry explains that he's a vampire hunter, and he wants to recruit Abe as one as well. They have a whole conversation about vampires being real. Abe's weapon of choice is an axe. He teaches him that real power comes from truth, not hate. And Abe's he lines his axe with silver to make it especially effective against vampires. And Henry explains all the rules of fighting vampires. They can be out during the day, and there's some different rules. Abe practices heavily with his axe as he learns the way of the vampire hunters. And the vampires hate silver and mirrors. Like I said, sunlight isn't a big deal. They can be out during the day. The bright light seems to kind of bother them a little bit, but other than that, no big deal.
They wear sunglasses.
Yeah. He learns about Vendoma and Adam, who made all the vampires. Also, most of the South is run by vampires.
That explains a lot.
They need to keep the monsters at bay. Well, some time passes. In 1837, Abe goes to Springfield to do his job. He gets a job with Joshua Speed, a store owner, and he meets Mary Todd, who he immediately likes. It doesn't take long before Abe encounters his first vampire, who gets a drop on Abe. Abe gets captured and tied up, but he uses his ninja-like powers to kill the monster and bury it in the woods.
Oh, boy, ninja-like. You ain't wrong.
Yeah, way out.
Flying through the air. Yeah, it's crazy.
Almost superpowered, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the whole concept is a joke, but the movie is mostly played seriously, except for the overtop superhero antics of Abe. The vampires, with their huge CGI fangs, look kind of cool for CGI vampires.
Mm-hmm.
The very juicy, slow-motion battles are a lot of fun, too, but they're not even remotely believable. I would say this is more of a superhero film than a horror movie, but vampires.
And that final epic battle is just
On top of the train?
Yeah, the physics in that. Yeah, they're on a train that's crossing a bridge, and the bridge is on fire and collapsing and falling, and various jumps and leaps and flips. And,
well, if that's the only part of the movie you don't believe.
But that's the only part I didn't believe. The rest was totally realistic. Yeah. It's really heavy on action and kind of low on the horror elements, actually.
Yeah.
But it was pretty entertaining.
It's good.
Yeah, it's fun.
On to the short films. Next Floor from 2008. Oh, this is an oldie.
I loved this one.
Directed by Denis Villeneuve.
Oh, some of his earlier
Blade
work.
Runner 2049, Dune, and Dune 2.
Yeah.
probably some stuff that I haven't seen.
And watching this, you can see why he went on to other big things. 'Cause
Written by-
This is just masterfully done.
Yeah, it's written by Jacques Davids and Phoebe Greenberg, stars Simone Chevalot, Luc Marshall Deganese, and Kennether Fernandez. 11 minutes. And it is watchable. Just go to YouTube and you can watch it there.
Mm-hmm.
A group of people gather for dinner. As the servers present the food, we see that this is the gourmet version of everything.
Extreme gourmet.
Even some really strange animals. Did I see a rhinoceros?
Yeah, there was a rhinoceros at one point. Yeah, really exotic things.
Well, the various people seated around the table get more and more excited, eating faster and faster as the dishes keep coming.
Just absolute gluttony.
Where will this gluttony end? To what depths will they go for their appetites?
Yeah.
Yeah, other than the head waiter, no one speaks in this. So it being French doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to watch it to see where it leads, just like the waiter does.
And he says, next floor. It's in English even. So,
Yeah. And of course, as we said, this was an early film by now superstar Denis Villeneuve. And it was clear even then that he was very talented. It's well shot, well paced, looks great, and it's weird enough that you're always left wondering.
Mm-hmm.
And I still kind of wonder
Yeah,
why.
It's weird and surreal, and some of the shots I watched it again. Like, how did he film that? yeah, it's very good.
Another one, The Cost of Living from 2018. Directed by Tom Nichol, written by Zach Newby and Tom Nichol, stars Lorna Nixon Brown, Jonathan Coote, and Liam Harkins. About 4.5 minutes, and it is also on YouTube. What's this one doing?
Well, Tess closes the door on Graham, the landlord's face. She says, now's not a good time. And they can't afford the place since her boyfriend lost his job. But he points out at least that Graham hasn't raised their rent, and he's really not such a bad guy. Well, Tess has to leave for work, and Graham is waiting outside for Tess to leave the apartment. Maybe he's not such a good guy after all.
How are they paying the rent?
Yeah, I did not see that coming, but Tess did. and so did so did her boyfriend. Yeah.
How far would you go to pay the rent?
Yeah.
And spoiler, it's not a porno.
No.
Yeah, it's very good. All looks very cool. We see exactly what's going on. Yeah, it's worth seeing.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
Which takes us to the newest one this week, 2023's short film, Pablo, Honey. Written and directed by Jamie Wan. Stars Charles Craddock, Christopher Dunn, and Lindsay Santoro. About 10.5 minutes on YouTube.
And this is like a documentary format.
Yeah, she's being interviewed.
Emma is being interviewed.
And she talks about how lonely she had been getting before she finally met her new boyfriend, Pablo. Her life is much better now thanks to him. She's out of work and running low on funds. She needs to get a roommate, which Pablo doesn't like that idea. He wants her all to himself. There's an additional problem, since Pablo isn't human.
He's a poltergeist.
Yeah, it's very well filmed. The stuff in Emma's apartment flies around with perfect comedic timing, and I laughed a few times.
Mm-hmm, me too.
At one point, the potential roommate runs out, and these shoes just fly out of nowhere.
And she's like, "Oh, it's the wind." And she's trying desperately to cover up, and so obviously not.
I think we saw the ending gag coming a mile away, but the presentation was still hilarious. Definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I thought all three shorts this week were really winners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, especially good ones. And that's our podcast for this week.
That is it. Next week we'll have, believe it or not,
more?
5 more movies and some shorts.
Hot diggity.
Yeah. And in the meantime, be sure to pick out The Horror Guy's Guide to the Academy Awards of Horror, which you will find links on horrorguys.com. You'll find links on horrormonthly.com and horrorguyshop.com.
And then you can watch the Oscars coming up and see if The Substance wins.
Or you could just go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Kobo, any of the Apple Books, any of those bookie places. They've got it all.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, that's it for this week. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.